Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm now delighted to be joined over the telephone by my guest, Dr. Gamal Ibrahim, member of the American Independent Party. Very good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for inviting
Dr.
me.
Gamal, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Dr. Gamal
Hello?
Ibrahim, are you with us on the line, sir?
Okay.
Right, there seems to be a bit of a technical difficulty. Dr. Gamal?
Yes, I'm with you. I hear you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we will try and get Dr. Gamal.
Next, 0.3 million water.
We will try and get Dr. Gamal back on the line, but of course...
Oh, I'm with you. I
yes.
hear you.
All right, Dr. Gamal, thank you so much. Apologies for that technical difficulty. Right, we just witnessed President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's speech in the Sustainable Development Session at the UN General Assembly that is being held in New York. In your opinion, Doctor, what stood out the most, especially that President el-Sisi spoke about doubling the effort to fund the development proceeds in the African continent?
Well, the president have laid the foundation, the political foundation yesterday.
Yes.
And he now is building on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday he touched a lot of subjects, all international problems, and the answer to it, and it gained the respect of all the leaders of the world. In fact, here in America, people are so impressed with the issues that he touched, especially about Africa. And now he proved himself as a great statesman, very much respected by the international leadership and great powers.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's building on it. So he's putting the foundation for this, and he's trying to put Egypt in the level of the great power, great economical power in the world.
Indeed. Dr. Gamal, as you mentioned, of course, in President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's address yesterday to the UN General Assembly, he spoke about the ambitious economic reform program that Egypt embarked on and the positive results coming to light. He also spoke about the development of the African continent and the importance of partnerships and investments come to the African continent. How important was this, especially in light of the President's presidency of the African Union?
Well, this was a great opportunity that the President has seized,
mm-hmm.
the chance to, while he is the President of the African Union,
yes,
to address the world, so Egypt would address the world in the name of Africa.
mm-hmm.
And this cut off the trials of other countries that are trying to get the interfere in the African affairs, especially when he said African problems should be solved only by Africans. So, namely, he cut Turkey, he cut Qatar, he cut all the power that is trying to invest the African community and African countries.
Mm-hmm.
So he really cut off the road to them, and he put Egypt as the only country that can speak in the name of Africa.
Indeed, and he also spoke on behalf of many African countries. He mentioned the issue of Sudan and removing Sudan from the list of countries supporting terrorism, which is also very important for our neighbors, the Sudanese people.
Yeah, I'm sure that will receive a lot of consideration from the government of the United States. But it's important to mention that he also mentioned about the dam that Ethiopia is building, mm-hmm. and that will hurt Egypt. So he was very intelligent in the way he presented that issue.
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed.
it became now an international issue. The international community know that Egypt has the right to act should Ethiopia cut off water from Egypt or fill the dam too fast. that will hurt the allocation amount of water for Egypt.
Indeed, and he also spoke about the Palestinian issue, and he also spoke about Yemen and Syria and Libya, all very important countries in the Middle East region. And as usual, he called for the solution to the Palestinian crisis. How important was this call and the repetition of such a call by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
Well, he really said a very balanced, unemotional presentation, and he, like I said, he put himself as a statesman and respected by the whole world, and he is not biased like many other presidents who spoke after him and before him. And that's why President Trump has praised him on many occasions in the dinner last night. And on the media in South America. And in fact, both American parties have praised the president for the statesmanship that he showed that usually is not seen by a third world country.
And Dr. Gamal also, he met with U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, and they spoke about the relationship between the two countries. And of course, President Trump hailed Egypt's successful counter-terrorism efforts, asserting, of course, that Egypt is a key fighter against terrorism. How do you evaluate Egypt's role in the Middle East in fighting this extreme phenomenon?
Well, Egypt has proved itself as a leader of fighting terrorism. And not only that, but exposed the plans and design of Turkey, Qatar, and other countries that support terrorism. So things are vividly clear now who is behind all that corruption that is happening in Libya, in Syria, in Iraq, and in different parts of in Yemen and in different parts of the world. So Egypt really has exposed all the clandestine plans that was not clear before. So the president really takes credit of that. And in fact, when the president of Turkey spoke after him, and he followed suit because he cannot say anything otherwise. So he was forced to mention the issue of Palestine, which was very important and very intelligent on the behalf of the president to mention it.
Absolutely. Dr. Gamal Ibrahim, member of the American Independent Party from California. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us and for your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we continue with our coverage of the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his address to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Short break, and we'll be right back. To stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said on Tuesday that the Nile water is a matter of life and death for Egypt, and urged all the international community to convince all parties to be flexible and resume negotiations. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Tuesday, al-Sisi said that although Egypt understands Ethiopia's situation regarding the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Dam, Ethiopia didn't conduct sufficient studies concerning this massive project. Last week, negotiations between the three countries on regulations for filling and operating the dam continued in Cairo after a year-long stalemate. al-Sisi said that repeated stalemates in negotiations will have negative repercussions on the stability and development in the region in general and in Egypt in particular. The president also stressed the necessity of ensuring that every nation can come up with a solution to its own problems, and that Egypt has been successful in this regard with its war against terrorism and its economic reforms, which are considered the most ambitious Egypt's modern history. Regarding Sudan, the president also called that Sudan be removed from the United States list of state sponsors of terror after the recent change in the country's political situation. The president went on saying that Egypt has an inclusive plan to help African countries with reconstruction and development, especially those suffering from long-term conflicts. Moving to the Palestinian issue, the president said that Palestine needs an urgent solution based on international resolutions because the continued existence of this dilemma means a long-term drain on the Middle East region. The president also stressed that now is the time for a decisive stand to put an end to the conflict in Yemen by implementing political solutions, ending interference from non-Arab regional parties that seek to undermine Arab national security, and countering the unprecedented threats facing the Arab Gulf region, whether the threats of navigation on the attacks against petroleum institutions in Saudi Arabia. The president has been in New York since Saturday to hold meetings ahead of the General Assembly, which began on Tuesday.